I just think that's the main objection is people are afraid to put themselves out there.
Yeah, and the funny thing is and the thing that I do with in my conversations is I twist the lens on them, and I'm like, Tim, what do you enjoy consuming? And he's like, oh, I follow this person on YouTube, this, and this. I like what this person does here. I'm like, why aren't you doing any of that? I never thought of that. You know, it's like we just need to mimic a lot of our own consumption behaviors here, and our world will change.
I love that. I'm like taking notes because I'm already thinking of which clips that I want to pull out of this, put on social media because you've got a lot of good things that you've said so far today.
Fun being on the other side of this. You sit here and pepper me with questions. I just, it go from my library. It's easy being not being the interviewer. First of all, thank you, Olivia, for messaging me and getting together with me and asking me to join. I'm thrilled and excited to have this chat with you. I've been in this business, in this industry since '06. So I've been here a while. I was in corporate marketing my entire career, corporate finance marketing. I worked for some of the boutique firms, some of the major firms that many of your listeners are very familiar with. I worked on the FA broker dealer side at some regional firms, and I've kind of been on both sides of the fence throughout my career. I left in 2019 to start my own company, Marketers Company, which was a marketing entity basically that fulfilled the marketing services for the boutique fund managers, the small fund managers, the 2 to 5 billion that couldn't really afford their own marketing company or marketing department, so they would outsource to us. From that, I found that there was also a need for advisors to create real consumable marketing, and all they were getting from their back office was a library of canned content made available to them, which they all shared from. And I saw that as a really great opportunity for me to jump in and help advisors stand out. And so I created kind of Corey Keating Marketing, which was just kind of a consulting service where I'd now work with advisors and help them build real engaging marketing programs that generate conversations. And here we are today. So I work on both sides of the fence. I work with boutique fund managers, insurance companies, and whatnot to help them build marketing programs on the firm level. And I work with advisors one-on-one, really helping them stand out.
I have never been on the other side. I imagine it must be very different. I mean, just quickly for my own edification, how does your marketing different between the two?
The audience is different, right? B2B, talking from the fund level or the firm level to an advisor is a lot different than it is talking to a client. It's talking to clients, you have to be much softer and understand those real pain points that they're dealing with on a daily struggle. Not that you don't have to consider that on the firm level, but on the firm level, you're branding the firm, and then you're attempting to stop another business, another advisor in their tracks to give you their attention. So there are many similarities. There are also many nuances. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of bureaucracy and compliance and all of that stuff involved. Not that we don't deal with that on the advisor level, but there's many more cooks in the kitchen on the firm level where, what ultimately ends up happening is it unfortunately sanitizes much of the marketing that doesn't actually get done. So I'll summarize it with this real quick. Like I'll say that I believe 98% of this industry is marketing for their contemporaries and coworkers and colleagues and the other people in the industry, not the consumer. And I think that applies to both the firm level and the FA level. So that's a challenge that I'm really trying to work with my clients through.
So when you first start working with an advisor, what is your process of helping them get their messaging where it needs to be so that the marketing will be efficient?
Yeah, the number one thing that I do, and it's consistent across all my clients in all of my conversations, is what do you have? What does your foundation look like? What does your brand look like? I call it an ecosystem. Mm-hmm. When I enter your world, Jane Smith, CFP, when I Google you, what comes up? When I go to your website, what do I find? When I go to YouTube, is there anything there? When I go to LinkedIn, what's your activity look like? So I really kind of dive in and look at it from someone who's trying to find out about this person as if I want to do business with Jane Smith. So my process, and the first thing that we do is we spend an hour or 90 minutes kind of saying, what's out there? What are we giving the world to consume to tell them about you and why they should consider doing business with you? unfortunately, I've talked to enough of these men and women, and as have you, that I know their why is all the same. I get what your attempt, like, you want to provide an honest, transparent value to your clients to help them satisfy a healthy and long retirement. You are a fiduciary. Look, we could go down a list of all the keywords that every single advisor runs with and believes in, and I believe in it with them. I'm not saying that. It's just that, do I believe Jane, Rebecca, John, Robert, and Stephen can all get my family and I to and through retirement? Yes, I do. What I work with advisors to do is differentiate themselves by telling and being out there with a story, with who they are as people, with what they actually do, like not just the corporate boilerplate, like them answering questions, common questions that they get from clients, which allows that advisor to create a kinship or a bond with the consumer of that content. So my goal is really to say, if we put out enough content, enough messaging, enough branding of who you are and what you actually stand for and believe in, you will start to attract the clients that want to do business with you, the human, not you, the enterprise, and not you, the business. Like, they want to work with you. And that's really my goal. And I actually just mimic it, Olivia, like my business.
People are doing more video, people are showing their face more, things like that. And I think that now it's gotten to a point where it's imperative. Like, if you are just a firm with no face, you're going to have a very, very difficult time. It doesn't matter how great the articles we write are, how amazing our email sequences, or how great the resources are we give away in the nurture sequence. If you don't put a face to your brand, you're really putting yourself at a disservice right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, look, years ago, just rewind the clock a little bit. Years ago, my wife and I would never even consider the idea of working with a financial advisor in Chicago. You know, we're in Philadelphia, like, or in Tennessee or Florida or California. Like, that wouldn't even make sense. You would find someone local, right? And how would you do that? It would probably be through friends and family, word of mouth, whatever. You'd find someone that maybe, or you hoped, you crossed your fingers, that fit the bill of who you liked as a person, because you wouldn't really get to know them.
Yeah.
Now, today, we can get to know the advisor. We can get to know all the people that we want to work with just by consuming the content that they're putting out. And we can make that decision before we even contact them. And whether you're in Chicago, Florida, California, Tennessee, it doesn't matter. If you put out content that resonates as a human with who my wife and I think that we want to talk to, you've broken down that barrier, and that is enormous opportunity.
You know, this bond, there is a bond that is created when you're putting out this content. People start, even if they haven't reached out yet, let's just say we're talking about prospects, right? Prospects who follow you, who consume your content, who like your content, even if they haven't reached out yet, there's that affinity there that the content has created, that eventually, when they are in a place that they're ready to pull the trigger, those posts and that consistency and those, emails are going to be what is the tipping point for them to say, hey, okay, I'm ready to reach out to John or whatever.
I blow everyone's mind with this, my clients anyways, like prospects, when we talk about this, because they're like, I just don't get how this is going to work. I'm like, all right, why did you call me?
Yeah.
Well, I saw the stuff you're putting out. I saw the stuff you're creating and consistent. I've been following you for quite a while. Like, I've been in your community consuming all your stuff for like 6 months. And I finally just decided I needed to talk to you. I'm like, aren't your new clients going to do that with you if we start this thing? And they're like, oh, I never thought of that.
Absolutely. I think to you and me, probably it feels like just second nature, right? Like, this just makes sense.
I'm empathetic to them. I really am. I think the firms are doing their advisors a tremendous disservice. And I would be eloquent in how I delivered that message to the management, but I think that they're checking boxes at the firm level. And I think it's really unfortunate for the advisors, because the firms are making a boatload of money here, right? And the advisors are left to actually either stay status quo or become actual marketers. Like, that's a really tall order for someone who doesn't have that creative capability. And I'm empathetic to that. I'm horrible at math. Like, so
Oh,
I couldn't do both, right? So I think it's a tall order to ask them to do both, and I put that on the firm.
people always want to know, what is the next big thing in marketing? They want to like get on the next big like train, right? But in reality, rarely have the ones who are asking these questions have they mastered the basics, email, social media. Over the course of your time in these spaces, where do you see RAs have had the most success in their marketing? How, if at all, has it changed over that time period?
It's a great question. I think the majority that have had the greatest success have jumped on, they jumped on LinkedIn early, and they early, like 2017, 2018. I give them a lot of credit because they kind of, I don't know if I can swear here or whatnot, but like
Yeah,
I'll
go
keep
ahead.
it. I don't think they gave a shit what people thought.
Okay, yeah.
And the advisors who jumped on LinkedIn at that 2017, 2018 moment in time and didn't give a shit what people thought, they just were themselves authentically. Because if you remember, rewind 4 or 5 years, LinkedIn was a very stodgy place. It was very conservative,
Yes.
in the sense business conservative. It was very buttoned up. Whatever you're putting out there is a reflection of you professionally. So people were very careful on how they branded themselves early on. And those advisors that won, that saw that and saw LinkedIn as an opportunity, that put themselves out there to the world, created a massive runway for themselves. So, the long or short answer to where I saw, or where I've seen a lot of success come from, is advisors who jumped on the LinkedIn bandwagon early. I'll say quickly, Olivia, it's not too late on LinkedIn.
No,
So many think it is. You said, where's the next big thing? It's right in
yeah,
front of you.
yeah. I want to ask you as a marketer, like, what is your greatest challenge in working with advisors? Like, if you could pick one of the challenges that you have and just wipe it off of your plate today, what would it be?
I don't know that I could wipe it off my plate. I want to solve it.
Well, I mean, by solve.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think it's an awesome question. One of the biggest challenge that I run into with advisors is I just wish they would, one, stop buying bullshit, because that, to me, is such an anchor to their budget and then their conviction in marketing, because they bought bullshit and then it makes them feel like it doesn't work, and then they wasted money, and then it's like they don't want to come back to the table. So that is my one wish for everyone out there listening. But I really would ask that clients that I'm working with, clients that I have worked with, clients that I have not worked with yet, I really wish that they would trust that and take the next step of saying, I'm going to commit more to this and let you help me create more content. Because what I do is, most of my business is in consulting, but then I leave those advisors to create on their own. And when they go off to create on their own, the quality and creative is very subjective, and a lot of times they don't know the left from right in the Adobe suite products, and how to create consumable content that works, and make videos, from 5 minutes to 90 seconds, jump cut edits, all the different things that I think really help consumption. And so I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I would really wish that advisors would put more trust into allowing me to help them, me and my team, help them create the content ourselves for them. What happens a lot of times is advisors go off to create the content that they're coached to create, or that they know will work, and it drags their brand down because it looks goofy,
Okay,
because it looks like shit, because they're not designers or real marketers. I give them a lot of credit for trying, but at the
definitely.
end of the day, there's a fine line between delivering content that works and actually detracting from what it is you represent. And I am always paying attention to, especially my clients, like, I coached you to do that. The way that was executed is not going to work. So when you ask that question of what I wish I could change, I wish they would take the coaching and then say, okay, can you make that? look, there's an opportunity out there, and I don't want to jump ahead. I don't know where your questions are, where you
Oh,
want to lead
you
this
know,
conversation, but there is still a tremendous opportunity out there for advisors to change their lives through content marketing. And to think you missed the boat is ridiculous. To wait for the next thing that's coming is ridiculous, because if you're waiting for the next thing, just like you guys advise all your clients, you're going to miss it. Time in the market, not timing the market, right? Like, the parallels are ridiculous for what we do and what they do with their clients. And I see such an opportunity. I hope that they stop buying bullshit leads and lists and all these different things that are out there that promise to 10x everything, and work with people one-on-one to create marketing programs that actually generate conversations.
generate conversations. I think that that is really a great point to drive home.
That's the only thing I do. I don't promise new business. I'll never promise an advisor new business, because I there's too many variables there that are out of my control. All I do is tell advisors that I work with and that I hope work with me is, my job is to help you generate conversations. That is it. If I can help you generate conversations, the rest is up to you. And that's whether you have found the right people, people that are, like-minded. That is all based on the content we put out, and who you are as a human. But if I can help you generate conversations, my job is done.
So
It's just, this whole thing is just, it's about buy-in, really. And like, I think patience is the number one variable that holds everyone down. Is they do it for 3 months, even 4 months, and like, it's not working. And like, we just have to keep at it, because look, I don't know about you, Olivia, all of my business comes from the shadows. I don't know when it's coming. I don't know, there's no rhyme or reason to why an advisor shoots me a DM or an email. It just happens. It's random. I smile, I chuckle, I laugh with my wife about it. I'm like, I have no idea where this came from, and it's new business. And I will say, I stepped out, launched this thing in 2019, zero gross revenue, right, on my own, doing my thing, savings, living off of that, trusting that, my wife's job can carry us for a little while. To fast forward to where we're at, knock on wood, my business is doing better than it's ever done, more than 6 figures gross annually, and business is continuing to find me. And that is not through me buying leads. That is not through me advertising. And I've got no problem with advertising, but that is just pure content generation and distribution and consistency and patience. That's all it is. And all I do is coach and work with my clients to do the same exact thing, and hope that they have the patience to stick with it, because it will change their business.
I love that, because it's a story very similar to mine. My husband is now like my business partner. He sits over there most of the time, but he doesn't want to hang out for the podcast, of course. But I started this business with, blogging a couple times a month for some advisors. We got to a point where I needed to hire, and now it's him and I, and it's, we have a beautiful life that we've been able to build. And it's just that pretty phenomenal that we live in a world where you can basically support your entire family and build a lucrative business with a laptop and an internet
It's
connection.
unbelievable, and it's special. And I love hearing that you guys, you said something that we all just ignore so often. You built a beautiful life. Like, that's just fucking awesome. Like, that's cool. And, to tie that back into this conversation is advisors out there that have plateaued. Like, that's my biggest challenge with you guys. You guys have, guys and women, guys and girls, like, I just use guys, but like, you've hit this mark, your business has plateaued. Are you going to stay there for the next 20 years as a plateau, 10 years, however long, or are you going to take the next step? And there's no easy way to take that next step other than attracting more attention and generating more conversations to build that beautiful life. Like, it's cool. It's neat. Cost, I'll be careful with my word. Well, the hell with it. What do I care? Careful with my words. I see a lot of advisors that are cheap,
Yeah.
but then they spend money on the wrong things, and that drives me bananas, because it's like, well, we could have done this with that budget. Like, your tech stack probably was fine as it was. Right. So, but you brought up something that is huge for me. And I just want to drive home the point for your audience, like from my perspective, and I'm sure you share this, is like, there's never too much if you're delivering value. If you're giving people stuff that is valuable to them, that they want to consume, you cannot overdo it. Yes, if you were blast emailing 3 times a week with horseshit, it's too much. If you were giving them things, tidbits that make them feel more confident, more educated, more comfortable, or laugh, like all of those things add value to someone's life. And if you continue to do that, you will never over inundate them with content.
I just think that's the main objection, is people are afraid to put themselves out there.
Yeah, and the funny thing is and the thing that I do in my conversations is I twist the lens on them, and I'm like, Tim, what do you enjoy consuming? And he's like, oh, I follow this person on YouTube, this and this. I like what this person does here. I'm like, why aren't you doing any of that? I never thought of that. It's like, we just need to mimic a lot of our own consumption behaviors here, and our world will change.
I love that. I'm like taking notes because I'm already thinking of which clips that I want to pull out of this, put on social media, because you've got a lot of good things that you've said so far today. And
fun being on the other side of this. You sit here and pepper me with questions. I just, go from my library. It's easy being not being the interviewer.